Hey, everybody, this is Rob Smith at the Body Project. And today I've got a very special guest that I'm going to be interviewing on something that we all probably know a little bit about, and that's stress. But there's so many things that we deal with on a regular basis, and we really don't have the strategies necessary to really overcome some of those stressors. And many of you guys have heard me talk about, obviously, our chart when here's Susan. Susan, how are you?
Hello, I'm great. How are you?
So I'm going to talk first before I introduce Susan. Just talk about our chart. Now, if we take a look at any symptomology that you may be experiencing, you think about it, whether it's chronic headaches, inability to sleep at night, hormonal issues, inability to reduce body fat, those are just the symptoms. It's a reflection of your body being unbalanced. And we take a look at the stressors in our life. We've got immune challenges like bacteria and viruses and Lyme and parasites. We have chemical stress, thousands and thousands of chemicals we're exposed to on a regular basis, heavy metals, so many heavy metals in our fish, in canned goods, in mouth, whether it's mercury fillings, dental crowns, and then the biggie, emotional stress. And emotional stress has such a dramatic impact on people's health. But again, they don't necessarily have the strategies to deal with that stress. And sometimes it can be very overwhelming. And so I needed help on this subject, and I needed to pick an incredibly knowledgeable person, great energy. I just recently met her at an event that I attended, and you are going to absolutely love her. Susan Robbins is a health coach and stress specialist that's out of Colorado. So I'm actually going to bring Susan on and welcome, Susan.
I'm back. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I tell you what, we got so much to unpack here and so much to talk about. But what I want you to kind of go through everybody with is, where is when we talk about stress levels, why don't you give the folks out there kind of an analogy that you like to give, or kind of the indications of the stress that people experience on a regular basis?
Sure. So we all have a stress threshold at which we should be operating. Okay. Say this is your stress threshold. We should actually be operating just below it. People think or have the misconception that all stress is bad. We only think of these big events that happen, death in the family, marriages, losing a job, things like that, right? Illnesses, that these are the stresses. I know when I do consults with clients, one of my questions is, what's your stress level on a scale of 1 to 10? And the whole consult, they're telling me about all of these things causing stress in their life. And then they say they're at about a 2.
Right.
Right. So they're not aware. And that's the way most people are, is they're not aware that everyday things are causing these. So instead of operating just below, where we can actually harness stress, optimize it so that keeps us on our toes, right? That alertness, that fight or flight gives us some alertness and motivation, right? That's where we want to be. Not way down here at a client that we need to actually bring her up and create some change because she doesn't have any stress, very, very little. I mean, that was causing her stress, but most people are here. They're up above the line. And there will be those big events when you have deaths, when you lose jobs, when you get a new job, that increase that stress level up here. Typically for a shorter amount of time, the body comes back into balance and you're back right in here. This is ideally how it should work. Here's us nowadays. We're up here, and we're up here for extended periods of time, creating chronic stress. And we don't become aware of it until we start to have physical things happening, where you're at that burnout, like literally burned out, where you have no joy in your life anymore. Like you don't like the things you used to, you don't get enjoyment out of them. And you're operating up here, the body can't keep up. And all these physical things start coming into play. And that's typically when people come to see you, when people come to see me, they're up here, they're not right. So that's your stress threshold.
Yeah, I think there's so many people that don't realize that electrochemical stress and emotional stress and chemical stress and structural stress, all these things become layered. And sometimes it's the emotional stress that basically is the straw that breaks the camel's back. And I'm sure you see that all the time.
Well, it's that frustration, that feeling of overwhelm, and they're not sure exactly what are the causes, and they may think that it's trying to keep up with the kids. You know, school's back in session, kids are playing sports. You have moms and dads working full-time jobs and trying to keep up with everything, and so they go out of whack there, and then they in turn create a worse environment for their body, for their mind, by living on sugar, fast foods, convenience foods, because they think that's all they have time for. That creates stress within the body because the body doesn't want to live on these foods. And things like excessive sugars can inhibit your body's absorption of some really important vitamins and minerals, creating more stuff inside the body. So when you have all of this going on, it just becomes a time bomb.
Yeah, I think so many people don't equate necessarily the emotional stress and the detriments that it creates. But we were just obviously at the epigenetics conference, and obviously people are familiar with their genes, right? Plays a very small role in actually how we look, how we feel, how we perform, how we age. It's the expression of the gene, right? It's
Yes,
epigenetics,
absolutely.
lifestyle
Absolutely.
factors. And so why don't you talk a little bit about epigenetics? And obviously one of the things we found out is the greatest impact on our expression of our genes with epigenetics is stress.
Yep.
So let's talk about that.
Well, you think about it. So epigenetics, for people that don't know, it's the science of how our environment and our lifestyle affects how our genes express. So just because you may have a propensity towards something doesn't mean that's how that gene is going to necessarily express. And so basically the choices that we make in our everyday life affect how those genes express. So, and that includes like the food you're putting in your body, the mindset you have, the environment in which you're living, what you're surrounding yourself with, keeping track of emotions, and all of these factors go into it and create that stress, and that stress is what can epigenetically modify any of those genetics you have. So you look at all of those lifestyle factors and how they relate to stress. So that's how that.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty amazing. They put up a slide of the top 10 reasons for death in America. And basically what they said is every single one of these, and we're talking cancer and diabetes and heart disease. And what did they say statistically? Literally everything is based on epigenetics. 3% of cancers?
2.6% of cancers are actually genetic. 2.6.
2.6.
Yes, where people are going and having surgical procedures so that they don't get the cancer that they're prone to genetically, when you can modify to help that gene express through epigenetics, through lifestyle management, exercise, the number one epigenetic expressor, right? The food we eat, again. And we just don't tend to think about how these things impact us. I had a 35th high school reunion last October. The week of the reunion, someone died of a heart attack. We just had another classmate die of a heart attack last month. And people will say, oh, it's genetic, it's genetic. No, it's not genetic. It's what he was eating, the lifestyle he chose. Do genetics play a part? Absolutely.
Right.
We have so much more control over how these things happen to us than we realize.
Yeah, so let's talk about the impactor of that is stress. I'm going to bring up a slide here, and let's talk about this kind of the circle of stress: the body, the mind, the behavior, the emotions.
I love this. So this is, so I'm going to be pointing here. You guys want to tell what I'm pointing to, so I'll tell you too, but it helps me. So I love this because All of these things on the outside here of the circle, they all affect stress in the middle, right? Stress in turn affects every one of these, and they all affect each other. So I'm going to go through how each one. So and again, most of these things are small stressors that add up. Could be relationship issues. It might just be bickering a bit. That is still, it creates that tenseness, right? So the body knows what's going on. The body reacts to everything. And when we're eating junk food, when we're eating sugar, downing caffeine to stay awake all day long because we're too stinking tired because we're so far over that threshold that the body can't keep up anymore, the body starts reacting to that stress. What happens when the body is reacting? Then you don't feel good. And then you're getting frustrated because you have so many commitments, so much to do in everyday life. And now the body's not wanting to keep up. You're probably getting frequent illnesses, aches and pains, because when we're under stress, the body's inflammation increases. We're not breathing properly, right? We're rapidly breathing. We're not taking full breaths. We're mouth breathing. All of these things, again, this is the body reacting to stress. Goes into the mind, like I'm talking about, where we start getting really frustrated. We can't keep up. So the thinking naturally goes to really negative thinking. And a lot of the clients that I start with, like every word out of their mouth is something down, something negative. And the body language, right? So I was showing Rob earlier, I said, so now I'm not going to make my body do anything. This is going to be natural reaction of how I talk. So when someone says, I'm overwhelmed, I'm so tired, right? I'm not breathing anymore. Like I'm down. And so you see how the body reacts to what you say. And then when I'm saying things like, you wake up in the morning, it's going to be a great day. I'm up, right? So our body reacts to how we think, what we say. If you look in the mirror and you go, ugh, what did I just do? If you look and go, I'm smoking, or I've got this. So this belly that I'm looking at gave birth to my beautiful children, right? As opposed to, oh, look at my gut. Excuse me. So there the mind is reacting and the body, there we are together. When those two things start going out of whack, the stress already started them. Now they're both increasing the stress. Then it leads to the behaviors that tend to be more disruptive instead of productive, right? Unhealthy instead of healthy. We're reaching for the junk food. We go for those comfort foods that give us the warm and fuzzy. We go for the pint of Ben and Jerry's, and we eat these things. And for that moment, it fulfills that need, or so we think, because after that, we don't feel good. It could be a food that our body doesn't like. It could be just the nature of the food itself. And then you cross it back over into the body. The body feels that, increasing more stress, and then the mind is feeling guilt. So you have those three working together, but it's still this cycle. And then we get into all of those working together, then the emotions come into play. I'm not worthy. Why should I even bother trying to take care of myself? It just doesn't matter anymore. Why should I keep going? And you feel it's a very isolating feeling. So you have feelings of isolation, some depression, a lot of anxiety, right? The heart rate is always, that consistent elevation leads, and that affects those emotions. So all of those working together to increase stress, keep you up here, because if you're out on one of those areas, you're out, that they're going to be affecting each other. So if you're out on one, you're going to be out on another one, and that stress level just keeps on going. So hopefully that was pretty clear on how that circle works, but it is a cycle that if you don't start having body awareness to, this isn't normal, this doesn't feel good, the mind, it's going to be a great day. I'm, another day to be my best and be okay with my best behaviors. Let me go for a walk instead of reaching for that Ben and Jerry's. Call a friend, do some breathing techniques, meditation, something that makes you feel good, that's going to last. And then in turn, those emotions, it's a lot easier to love yourself and be accepting. And notice when those emotions, when you need to handle them, let them flow. And then that stress level in the middle miraculously starts to shrink. starts to be manageable, and you're right here where you want to be.
Yeah, I think you brought up a key point in just people being aware. And there's so many people that just really aren't aware. And I think one of the reasons why is because breathing is really the bridge between the mind and the body. And because people are not breathing optimally, there's a real disconnect. And I think that the biggest thing is people have to obviously learn how to breathe, but then just actually to create that their own awareness of how they're feeling, and then obviously addressing those feelings. So one of the things I wanted you to share with everybody is, there's so many times that people are not happy with where they're working, and they're not living what I would consider an authentic life, right? They're not being true to themselves.
That term.
And anybody who might know that would be you, right? Because of your career transition.
Yes.
So why don't you tell everybody, I mean, stress.
I know stress
much more than the average person does, because you lived it, you experienced it. You think about what are some of the most stressful jobs in this world, being in the military, being a paramedic, being a police officer. Do you know anything about that?
I know a little bit about it. So yeah, I actually went in trying to figure out who I was all my life. And we tend to live our lives according to who we think people expect us to be. And we don't allow ourselves to evolve and truly find our purposes. And
well, tell everybody what you used to do.
Yeah, it took me a long time. So I was 36 when I went into the police academy in Aurora, Colorado. And I was really excited about it. It was right after 9/11, wanted to make a difference, right? It's what I always knew I wanted to make a difference. So I ended up moving to Montana, and I was with a very small department up there. There was about 22 of us, and I was the only female there for the last several years. And I knew that I did not like that department. I didn't care for how it was run, but it was being the only girl in a good old boys town was tough. And I stuck it out. I loved what I did because I truly felt like I made a difference. But I am a very emotional feeling person. And I dealt with a lot of child crime. And for 10 and a half years, specializing in public housing. And you can't show emotions, an officer. And you have to be ready for those life death situations quickly. I mean, you have to always be in that prepared mode. So it was very stressful. And I knew that it was time. And I found out that when I was turning 50 that I was vested, I could retire. That was all you had to say. So I decided to make the bump. And in the meantime, I dealt with my own, and this is more stress on me. I had dealt with my own physical issues with chronic Lyme disease, autoimmune thyroid. So there's the physical stress that was within me, frustrating me that I wasn't top notch because of the physical. And then the emotional stresses that being an officer was bringing on me and having to hold things back, not being able to fully express myself and be me. And so I decided to retire. And I went to return. You take your taser and your radio back on retirement day. And I had an injury. So I was out, and we didn't have light duty up there. So I didn't work like my last over a month and a half. I'd been totally away from the PD. And I walked up through the doors that day to retire. And it was the biggest eye opener ever. My heart felt like it went into my throat. My heart rate went like I could feel it. I could hear it. And I started shaking, and my gut went like that. And I said, how long did I live like this, walking the doors for 12 and a half years, and I never noticed it? Because we are so used to, as a society now, because everything is instant. We have to do everything now. We don't take the time to be in the moment. And we live with this stress all the time, and we have no idea. And I lived with that for 12 and a half years. And it was crushing me. But I found in the meantime, I had decided to work as a health coach, was in health coach school, and actually graduated the day I retired, and wanted to help other people learn how to recognize these things that I didn't notice in myself. It's very, very real.
I think the cool thing is you went from protecting and serving to really protecting and serving, right? So it's
Yeah,
just a little different way to look at it.
It is. I say that I save lives in a different way now. It's helping people save themselves.
No, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about, I'd actually search for the 10 biggest life stressors. I'm just going to go through them and then we'll chat about it. Death of a loved one, divorce, loss of a job, increase in financial obligations, getting married, moving to a new home, chronic illness or injury, emotional problems, depression, anxiety, anger, grief, guilt, low self-esteem, taking care of an elderly or sick family member, and then traumatic events such as a natural disaster, theft, rape, or violence against you or a loved one. That's some pretty heavy stuff.
It absolutely is.
But we were chatting earlier about it's the little micro stressors on a regular basis. Everyone obviously knows that this stuff is going to make anyone stressed, right?
Yeah.
But it's these micro stressors that we deal with on a regular basis that really have lasting, profound negative impact on our lives, and they're slowly killing us. So
They are.
Share with everybody some of those micro stresses that we might deal with on a regular basis.
I think not feeling fulfilled. I've worked with a few people, a few clients who were so unfulfilled in their jobs that it wasn't what they wanted to do. And 3 of them actually finally left those jobs to follow their purpose. And it was amazing how they just, right? So feeling unfulfilled in a job that you don't want to be in and feel trapped in, people know that you're never trapped. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're never trapped. When you are following a path of your passion, it doesn't have to be that way. So so we have things like that. We have relationship issues. And like I touched on that earlier, you're not getting along with a significant other or your kids. Well, think, oh, that's normal. There's problems and everything. But a lot of us are afraid to even confront people to talk about it now, say how you feel. So what does it do? It compounds and leads to some big blow-ups, which are really stressful. But it's that day-to-day, like, God, they're chewing. It's driving me crazy, right? They're breathing. So it's that little stress. We don't even think about lack of physical activity.
Wait. Getting back to that, the little things that our significant others do that stress us out. The stuff that was cute when we first started dating
becomes, oh my God, want to. Ooh, right? And that again, I mean, there are things that just they just keep adding up. But when people can communicate and bring those levels down, and I tell people all the time, like, everybody wants, when people are stressed out, one of the consequences of that negative thinking is everything sucks. Right. Maybe stemming from the job or stemming from the home life. But if you're not happy at home, you're bringing it to work. If you're not happy at work, you're bringing it home. So you're the catalyst there. And I say, if you want change, you be the change. You can't control anybody else around you. If you're not happy, start with you. And it's really amazing to see how their stressors start to get alleviated when they start to deal with this. But yeah, so and again, physical inactivity, that's a stressor. If you're not moving, the body craves movement, right? So I include that as a type of stressor. I do full stress assessments on all my clients, and there's 4 specific types of triggers with stress. And we think of these are the 4 categories of these little stressors that you're talking about that snowball. It just becomes like a big freaking glacier that rolls downhill until it crashes, right? And then they're coming to you going, I can't breathe. I'm sore. I can't move. Help me, right? So one of them is environmental stresses. And this is anything that's in your personal environment, any changes in there. So changes in your household, like you were talking about metals, different toxicities. So anything that's changing in your home, it could even be a polluted area, allergies, so it's your environment. Another one is personal stress, which I have found to be the most popular stressor. And it's simply stress that we create in our own minds. And it has to do with how we feel about ourselves, about the world we're in, our relationships, poor self-esteem, lack of willpower, self-control. We beat ourselves up over that. Addictions, anything like that. If you're feeling inadequate or unfulfilled, right? Like we're talking about. Another one you have is the physiological stress.
Hold on one second, Susan. Sure. Getting back to that, just how a person's feeling about themselves. We were talking a little bit about social media and kind of the comparisons. And it looks like everyone has the perfect life, right?
Yes.
On social media. And I think that's probably created more, wouldn't you say, psychological challenges for some of the people dealing with?
I do. That would be social stress, I believe. And that's related to your appearance in the world. How do people view you? And I think that's a combination of the personal and the social, because you're starting to feel, you're looking at this person with the new house, the new car, the new boyfriend, girlfriend, and you're going, oh, I'm here with my cat. You better not come walking in here. So, like, I'm 2 cats away from being a cat lady. But if we think about this stuff, right? People and think, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And my job's not
Hold on. You're perfect.
Perfect. Exactly. So we get to feel perfect, right? Yeah. And then it's like, how do people see me? So people must be talking about me or thinking I'm not good enough. So you get that combination of the social stress plus your personal stress. And that's the worst. You're creating this stuff that doesn't even exist, because I guarantee you, if you want a really good book, people, to get out of these ways of thinking, the 4 Agreements. Have you read that one?
I have not.
Oh, the 4 Agreements. Wonderful. One of the 4 agreements is don't take things personally, right? Everybody, we are all living our own dream, our own nightmare. And what someone else says or does doesn't really have a stinking thing to do about you. We just think it does. And that goes with another one of the agreements is don't assume. We're looking at social media, assuming that, oh my God, this person looks so happy, or they've got everything in the world. Well, their everything in the world could be a mountain of debt, and they're swimming in financial stress, right? There could be lonely behind the smiles. We don't know. Don't assume anything, right? You take these things on, and all you're doing is creating more stress for you. Work on you, and get good with you. And those are and then the other micro stress that can be broken off into the others would be stress. And that's the physical issues that we have. So you deal with people with arthritis, with the aches, the pains, that ache and pain, all this stuff, when you can't do the things that you love to do. I've had injuries. If I can't go hike or CrossFit or something, that can be stressful to me. I'm a big part of my life. So that creates the mental stress, and it increases that inflammation. So again, they all work together. So, and I mean, that can be eating disorders, sexual dysfunction. Yes, people, a big major sign of chronic stress is sexual dysfunction. Either you have performance issues, or you don't even want it anymore. It doesn't even matter to you. And that, if this is where you are, think about it, because that's another sign that you've got some chronic stress going on. So.
Yeah, I think there's so many people that don't listen to the signals that their body's giving them, because a symptom is really a gift if we look at it.
I love that. Yes.
It's our body's way trying to communicate that, hey, homeostasis, balance within me is out of whack here. So we've got to address that. So in terms of if you were going to leave us with maybe some key strategies for dealing with stress, what are some of the things that we can do to mitigate some of the stressors that we're dealing with on an emotional standpoint?
I think number one is we have to start realizing that we're not superhuman, that we can't be everything for everybody all the time, and that we have to take time for ourselves. If you, like we had spoken with earlier, if you are an introvert and being around people a lot is stressful to you and you need to recharge your batteries, do it and be open about it. Let people know, if they're wanting you to keep doing stuff, set those boundaries. For people like me that are very extroverted, I'm energized by people. Notice that if you're spending too much time alone, that maybe you need to reach out. Don't wait for people to reach out to you. Go to a meetup group, something to get yourself out there. But be aware of the type of person you are, because these are things that can create stress.
I want to hold on for 1 second. When we were at our event, it was yourself, myself, and two other great guys from Florida.
Fab Four.
Richard and Alex. And we had so much fun. In fact, people were like, what is going on with these four people? Because they're having so much fun. And we had several people come over to us because they're like, what is going on over here? And what's interesting is I just love being around like-minded people. And I think that's another thing. Anytime we can get around like-minded people, we're really energized. But what's interesting is I don't think a lot of people know this about me, but I'm definitely an introvert. So I go out in nature, or I like to read, or I like to write. And that's how I really kind of fill my bucket. And but I also love, being around other people. But for me, when I need a recharge, I have to go within. And I think it's very important, like you said, for everybody to know really who you are.
Yeah. And I think people are afraid to say, and I don't know about you, but a lot of introverts are afraid to say, I need to be alone. They think people are gonna be like, what? You don't want to be around me?
Right.
And it's like, if I don't take my me time, you won't want to be around me because I'm not going to be present. Like, I'm going to be like, I got to get out of here. Right. So I think, and I think it's hard for extroverts to reach out and say, but I need people right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think, again, being able to be good with who you are, where you are, and what your needs are. We're so afraid to speak out and say what our needs are. Like, it's inconveniencing people. The only ones it's inconveniencing is us. It's making us sick. It's making us tired. We're not getting enough sleep. Right. If you're extremely stressed to where it's affecting your adrenals, typically you would get the spike late at night and you're up too late. And then you're either not getting enough sleep because you have to get up early, or you're sleeping in late and half your day's gone. You're not productive. And there you go. There's your mind going again. I'm worthless today. So I think sleep is another huge component. If you're not sleeping, if you're having sleep issues, reach out to us. Somebody, reach out to Rob if you're up there. Reach out to me. We can help you work through that. That's what people like us are here for. These added components that all go together to help you. Step away from the junk food. If it's one thing I could say, even if you prepare a couple of meals a week to start with, you can do freezer meals. Mm-hmm. But you guys, it will take stress away from you like you can't imagine, because number one, you're feeding your body nutrients that it needs instead of processed junk that's depleting your body of nutrients and creating more stress, creating physiological stress, emotional stress, brain fog. If you can't think straight, right? And bad food causes this, all these processed things. So prepare a couple of meals. They're easy. You can fry up an egg and throw some spinach in there and some peppers or whatever you like in 3 minutes? Things like that people don't realize that are so easy. Take time for you every day, even if it's 5 minutes. And if your workplace is difficult and this is where you are right now, doesn't mean you can't be looking for something more fulfilling. this is where you are right now. And I have a client that's been dealing with this. I have her do her breathing techniques. I do the 4-7-8. I don't know what technique you do for any type of relaxation breathing, but I do the 4-7-8. So it's in for 4, hold for 7, out very slowly for 8. And she does that 3 times on her way on the drive, and then during the day, and then on her way home, so she doesn't bring it home with her.
Mm-hmm.
And another key component you can do is, because we don't spend enough time just being, right? Take that time to just be. It's always moving around us. Being busy is not a great thing because it's keeping us from being aware of signs that our body's giving us, signs that the universe is giving us, tunnel vision, right? Just be. I love guided meditations. There's Headspace and Calm. There's some great free apps out there. I can't meditate on my own to save my life, but I can put one of these guided apps on and I'm like, I'm out. If you have trouble sleeping, it's a proven method to help you fall asleep the night before bed. But what meditation does, it helps you start gaining some body awareness, that mind-body awareness, and being able to learn to just be in that moment, take in the beauty of that moment and who you are, and set your intentions of what you want in life. Because I'm telling you, it's the law of attraction. The things you think, the things you say are exactly what you bring in. So they're going to either increase your stress or they're going to alleviate your stress. So there are 5 easy things that you can start doing for the stress, those little micro stressors.
I'm going to add the bonus 6 because
movement.
You and I are both nature freaks. We love nature. And I think one of the best things that people can do is start getting unplugged and spending just a little bit of time in nature.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And you're lucky enough to live out in the mountains.
I know.
Very, very jealous of you there. But I cannot thank you enough for spending time with myself and my peeps. They're going to be very appreciative of getting this information. It's such great information, and it's information people really need to know. So I can't thank you enough. If you're open to it, I'd love to do another conversation. We've got so much we can talk about.
Absolutely.
And obviously we could talk for days, but thank you so much, everybody, for watching. And thank you so much, Susan, for being with us.
And can I just say one thing, please?
Absolutely.
2 things. Number 1, because I know I can just talk forever. But thank you for having me on here and give me this opportunity to reach out to your people with this information. But second of all, talking about the people around us, evaluate your tribe, and your vibe is what attracts your tribe.
Yes.
I'm very happy that my vibe attracted you.
I am too. I could not feel more blessed to have met you and connected with you. And so thank you so much again. And we look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
See ya.